talk about back to the question. The question of digital literacy is actually more important than ever. Okay, dear listeners, this is relevant to you because with mobile phones and data being essential to receive any education now, just like you listening to this podcast, how do you think we can reach out to these students in the novel infant stage of harnessing basic technology to facilitate their education?
How can we reach out better to them? Is
That's
that your
right.
question?
Yes,
Well,
yes, that's right.
the interesting part is, or the paradox is that I mean, we have never been so connected in terms of network coverage, and probably all the spots in the world are covered somehow through some networks. It is, the question is the actual access, and the access are, I mean, there are different dimensions to it. One is the actual device. That's one part. The other one is how can they use the device in such a way that it's meaningful. I mean, it's nice to have your computer at home, but if your mother is cooking in the kitchen and your siblings are running behind you and you don't have a quiet space like your library, then there's no big use of your beautiful tool, because you just cannot focus because of the whole distraction and of the environment. I think a number of institutions and many universities support financially students who are less privileged and do not have this digital access. So there are a number of programs here. At the end, another point is when it comes to accesses in general, in what language are we teaching? Are we conveying this? Is it actually also the most of the courses are still are mainly in English, not necessarily for in the mother tongues of those students in indigenous communities. So it's a challenge. Inclusion is also a challenge. We are facing this with our own programs. It's not only about the technical access, it's also how you engage people with disabilities in a way that it is meaningful. So there's a long road ahead of us, I think, still.
Right, thank you, Leonie. Right, what you said about us having a long road ahead of us and also having inclusion, which is why we are creating this podcast to include all of you people under all of you youths. And if you're not a youth, that's fine too, under the ASEAN network. So if you would like to know how you can help us and this long road ahead and fill us up with some food and petrol, you can head on over to our social media sites, Instagram at AYO ASEAN. Let me repeat that, AYO ASEAN. You can just reach out to us there and see how you can join us, how you can help out, and how you can most importantly make a difference. I'm not reading this from a script, by the way. I'm saying this from the heart. Don't go to sleep just yet. Just get up from your bed or wherever you're from, take out your phone and search it up, AYO ASEAN, leave us a message and on how you can help, and we will reply to you. Now, moving on to my colleague. I always forget your name, Rubata, right?
Right. Tawa. You can call me RT. I'll make your life easier. Just call me RT. You talk about talking about social media. Digitalization, rapid digitalization has kind of brought social media to the forefront. We're doing everything on social media. We're shopping, we're doing our businesses, we're getting our news from social media even. But there's a dark side to this as well. It is massively being used as a tool for propaganda and miscommunication. Amid this backdrop, which is definitely a 21st century problem, how do you believe one must harness the use of social media again against the backdrop of growing propaganda and miscommunication?
Again, it's a double-sided sword, and that's, I think, what I referred to earlier as digital natives. Digital natives is not only about what you use, but how you use it. And I think it starts from early on in the education sector. not necessarily not in kindergarten, but already in primary school, secondary school, when they are having the first encounters with social media, and it starts that early. Using the safe space in the school to tackle topics which could potentially be dangerous for whichever age you are. And so again, it is about how you can use education to decipher certain messages and come and critically question what you consume, because the challenge is not so much what is out there. The question is rather how you interpret it and what is the context of your interpretation, the framework. So it's not so much about censorship, it's rather about, do you have the pillars to categorize your information in a meaningful way and in such a way that it doesn't harm? That's it.
Yeah. I do want to kind of move away from the script a little while and then just jump into something that I've been noticing in the past couple of years. Social media is easily accessible by people of all ages, and there's a growing concern about how young children are actually accessing social media without there actually being a filter in between. And that miscommunication, that propaganda is affecting them adversely. Maybe they may come out as one of the worst affected demographic of the propaganda and the miscommunication and the fake news, sort of fake news pandemic that has hit us over social media. How do you, if you have a feedback on that, how do you see this rolling out? How can we actually curb that and protect our young, fragile minds from these dark sides of social media?
Well, I have two young. One is 8 years old and the other is 11 years old. And that's maybe also related to my earlier answer, that I see this very strong engagement from school in this. As parents, it's probably, parental advice is never good to give to other parents, so because every child is different, but it's probably a constant, not locking away, but engaging with the children and talking about it, being in a constant, being involved in what they are doing. And that's maybe for different generations a bit tricky, because what they consume on whatever platform it is, and it's definitely not Twitter, it's Facebook, it's TikTok, it's YouTube, it might not be to the taste of the parents, but and you might not want to spend your time sitting next to your son checking out what he's watching on YouTube, but that's probably giving you hints on how confident is your child already in using it, and how much does your child question the information which comes in. I think you can. This is the way of controlling. It's not controlling it's partly also, of course, parental control on devices, but I think the biggest impact is when you are able to engage with them in a dialogue and really finding out, are they mature enough, or when are they mature enough to consume this content by themselves without you supervising or guiding.
That is very important. Equipping them with a critical mindset to be able to become the filters themselves against the world. That's a very powerful idea. With that, Scott, over to you.
Yes, right. Appreciate RT for adding on an additional question. I would ask an additional question too, except I don't know what else to say. So, Miss Leonie, do you like ice cream?
I love ice cream.
Awesome. See, I asked one question, guys. Did you see what I did there? I asked the question. That means I'm pretty smart too, okay? But now back to our actual point.
Wow. I have a sweet Scott.
Me too. Don't we all? Don't we all? What's your favorite flavor?
Pistachio.
Pistachio. Wow.
It's very traditional Italian.
You guys would be happy to know that I'm fasting, and you guys are making it awfully difficult.
Right now. Yikes. Darn it.
I'm kidding.
should have an ice cream podcast. If you guys think we should have an ice cream podcast, let us know, okay? Well, back to on to a serious note, for all of you young change makers out there, and hopefully AYO change makers for the future. And thank you for tuning in. So, would you mind telling us a little bit more, Ms. Leonie, on the ASEFYLS, the Youth Leadership Summit? Yeah, we heard that they will be held either hybrid or virtually or in Cambodia if the pandemic, hopefully, fingers crossed, is under control. Could you let us know a little bit more about that? I would like to know more about that too.
Yes, first two things, Scott. I'm disappointed about two things. Number one is that we agreed that we have an informal conversation. So don't call me Miss Leonie. That's the
Oh,
first.
right. Sorry.
The second is, I think I have to be disappointed because could it be that you have not applied?
Ah, that. I actually have not heard about it until now.
Okay, so good. Then I think then we have a reason to talk about it and make a little bit of propaganda for our own project. So, because IAPS definitely has circulated the message. Okay, so what are we doing? We had, I have to say, I'm a bit proud about this because this youth project, the ASEF Young Leaders Summit, is a project which we have in the organization really developed after a request by young people that they want to have a platform and a forum where they can share their thoughts and ideas, and it should be a thought and action arena with leaders of Asia and Europe. And you might know Model UN, that project. We had a similar project called Model ASEM, where we simulated the ASEM process. And at the end, students have to come up with a chair statement, which is, if they simulate it very well, very similar to the actual statement of head of states, in this case, foreign ministers. And our students said, and young professionals said, we don't want to have such statement. We want to have a real declaration, a real youth declaration where we voice, where we can channel our voices. So we developed the Young Leaders Summit. The upcoming summit is on sustainable development in a post-COVID world. And we have chosen 4 sustainable development goals, which we deemed are most crucial for young people to engage with, or where we feel they have very strong impact on young people's lives. One is SDG 3, health and well-being. The other one, SDG 4, quality education. SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. And the last one is SDG 13, which is climate action. So what are we doing? We have developed a 10-month young leadership program with different elements of engagement. And our emphasis is very strongly on collaboration and exchange, because we didn't want it to replicate webinar sessions on SDGs. We didn't want it to have like leadership courses with theory. We wanted to, or we tried. I always have to say we tried, because currently we are just in trying times. We wanted to have a platform against all odds of online, where we combine both of it and have a knowledge building phase. So we bring in the foundation, but we have afterwards also leadership and action activity. So we have about 200 young people from 51 nationalities who work on 15 leadership and action activities on these 4 SDGs in their communities at home. And they do this in a very collaborative spirit. And hopefully in Cambodia, they can present what they have done, because youth leads to action. Hopefully they have the opportunity to share a declaration about how do they envisage sustainable development in a post-COVID world to the head of states. And hopefully they have encounters with the head of states and be blunt and direct and have the opportunity to share their perspectives in this junior leadership dialogue.
Well, that sounds absolutely amazing. I've personally been following all of that because I work in a similar domain, and I work with young people pretty much on the same thing, which is policy making and how they can direct what they want to do, and then speak directly to head of states and say, this is what we want you to incorporate in your ideas, in your speeches, and in your policies. So I'm fascinated. And so I'd like all the speakers to be able to find the resolution that you're talking about, the declaration you're talking about. So can you tell us a bit about where we can find the declaration? When it is made and put online, how can we achieve, kind of access it?
So currently, this declaration, I think, is still in the mind of these 200 young people, and it will be a collaborative process of drafting it over the next months. And well, once it will be delivered, usually for our youth projects, they take place alongside summits or foreign minister meetings. So there's a slot in the open ceremony of the summit where 4 youth representatives will be delivering that declaration, and then we will share it.